I was born and raised in Minnesota, and my husband and I moved to Florida 22 years ago, and so right now I live outside of Tampa, west of Tampa, and I quilt there in my studio, my home studio, with my new Infinity. Actually, she's about 8, coming up on 8, 9 months old now, so it's great. I mean, I've sewed since I was in high school. You know, back in the day when I went to school, we had home ec class, and that's where I learned to sew and love to sew. And fast forward, I kind of took a hiatus from sewing for a while, and then my mom came to visit me in Florida one weekend, and she said, "Let's make a quilt." And I'm like, "What? No, we're not going to make a quilt." She's like, "Yeah, come on, it'll be fun." I'm like, "Okay, Mom." So down to Joann Fabrics we went and bought a ruler, and I still have that ruler. And it's basically, I've been quilting ever since. Now with my business, I don't get as much time to piece for myself because I'm quilting. You know, seems some days like 24/7, but it's a labor of love. I just love what I do. It's like I can't believe that this is my job now. You know, and just I can make people happy with quilting. It's very rewarding. I love it. The Pro Stitcher, really, I have just tried to learn that thing inside and out, and almost exclusively, not quite, but almost exclusively, I have built my business on just Pro Stitcher. Every once in a while I'll get a quilt in, and it comes in and I'm just like, there's some applique on there, or there's just something, you know, that I've got to do some free motion, and at first I would just outright, no, I don't do that, and I have a couple good people I refer to, and then, you know, I've gotten to the point where I don't just say no outright, and I get some advice sometimes from other quilters, or I'll search online, but for the most part, if it's not a pieced quilt, I don't work on it. I feel like I can take any pieced quilt and work with the designs that come with the machine. There's so many of them. I have accumulated by purchasing another 1,000 or, you know, more. And it's just fun. It's just fun for me, that's my creative. I don't seem to have the artistic draw ability, but I can sit there and I can take a quilt in and I can know in my head what sets I have or what patterns I have. And I feel like that is a gift and an art too, of being able to know what's going to work well together and, you know, what's going to play well together. So, and now with simulation, this is what I'm doing. I'm just sitting with my simulator and I'm bringing stuff in and I'm putting it together, and I can lay out a quilt. And I know a lot of girls and guys, I don't want to be sexist, I know a lot of quilters, they use other programs to kind of, maybe it's Art and Stitch, or maybe it's some Illustrator something or other, and they like to put patterns on top of pictures of quilts. I've been doing it long enough that I can kind of know what's going to work without having the quilt be a backdrop. So simulation is perfect for me for that, because I can bring patterns in and I can see how they play well together. I can check the density. I can just, oh, if I think I like that, I go to bed at night, I get up the next day, oh, no, not so much. I just take it out and I put something else in. Yes, I like that better. And then I move on, and I can see how it's going to look before I quilt it out, and I really like that. This blue and brown one, again, because of the colors, and if you look really closely at this line of fabric, it's called Peacemakers, but it's peace spelled like we would be piecing. Not peace as like the world needs peace, which it obviously does. But it's Peacemakers, and there's little scissors and needles, and it's all about sewing. Oh, us quilters, we're always pulling strings off of stuff. So just a little bit better look at the front of it. It's just so yummy. Isn't it just warm and inviting? And then we just look a little bit at the back, and maybe you can see some of the definition of the quilting on the back. And that's another thing with being a quilter, is kind of learning your trade over the years. I think about my backings a lot more now that I'm a long armor. I'm thinking about how am I going to quilt this out, and if I really want that quilting to show on the back, you know, I'm thinking about keeping the back simpler, maybe lighter or more neutral nature, so that that beautiful quilting can just show. A lot of times my customers will bring me backings that are just, you know, the fabric is gorgeous, 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 but it's not going to show up once it's quilted out. So so I like the back on that one just because it just highlights that quilting so much. I guess one of the other favorite ones that I have here this week is just this whole cloth one, and that's basically what I've been doing with the simulation product from Handy Quilter, is just playing. And you know, we talked about the designs. I've just amassed so many designs, and sometimes you'll get a whole set and you can use it together, and sometimes I'll get a set and I'll be like, oh, I like that, and I think that would go with Christy's design, and I think that would go well with, you know, another design or a Jessica Schick pattern or something, you know, so I get to learn my patterns really well. So this is probably Carly Porter on the outside. The center is from Nancy Hackey. The squares are from Christy Dillon. So it's like taking a bunch of stuff that I have and just putting it together in simulation, and this was just really fun. One of the things that I did though prior to coming this week was, I'm like, okay, I've been designing these, I've been laying them out, I've been having super loads of fun with my simulator, that I need to make sure that this can be stitched. So I really learned a lot in the stitching process of this one, and so I've been doing a lot of other whole cloth layouts and really thinking about stitch order, and that's a really awesome tool inside of Pro Stitcher, is being able to set up the patterns and the designs, and then before all is said and done, I can take those designs and I can reorder in which order they're in, so that I can stitch it properly. So I took this piece to Quilt Guild and I showed it, and they were like, Melissa, that's so beautiful, will you teach us? And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm not a teacher. And they're like, oh, Melissa, come on, please. And I said, okay, you guys are my friends, you'll be gentle with me. So I agreed to do it, and I think I had 25 people or 30 in my class that day. And after I taught that class, they were like, Melissa, you're like a born teacher. You should go out and teach more. And I said, you know, I think I will. So I started traveling to shops and other guilds, and I teach this as kind of one of my go-to standard classes that I teach, is this double wedding ring. And I don't know, I walked in here last night and I saw it, and it just made me think of my husband, Paul. He's been one of my biggest supporters of my quilting life. I just love him to death, and he's just back at home rooting for me this week to have a great week and be successful out here. And so when I saw that hanging there, I was just like, oh, it's just perfect.